So today we're actually going to cover something very, I think, interesting and new, which is the Bolus method, which is
Yeah.
something that is making waves out on the internet. Some people love it, some people don't agree with it, but at the end of the day, nobody's forcing anybody to do it.
Yeah.
So
I'm excited to hear about it, learn about it,
Mm.
and and hear what Claude can educate us about the method of doing this.
The bolus is very simple. It's a way how to dose alkalinity into the tank by using bicarbonates and in a specific system like we have the Balling light method, and which is maybe not as that common in the US, is that we combine the bicarbonates together with some specific elements in one dosing, so putting the elements in a specific ratio. And the bolus is a one-time dosing a day. It comes from the medicine. You dose a large amount one time to have an effect. And this brings a way better stability and a way better pH control into this aquarium as it was before. And the system is not new. At the end, it's not new because this is what we did before we have a dosing pumps. So nobody goes to the aquarium and dose 24 times a little bit. We had no dosing pumps, so we used the stuff, put it in, and that's it. And we had great success with that. Also, 20 years ago, we had SPS growing like wheat. And this changes over the time, and it becomes I don't know. It was an idea coming after a nice visit in a pub, and I say I miss something. I don't understand it, and I make a video about it, and said yes, we use it in the large aquariums worldwide, but we never use it in the coral farm. I see differences in grow and differences in how the corals reacting, and the idea was, hey, why not trying something which we did 20 years ago, which works. Now we try to understand why and how it works. That's the different maybe, but it's
I
not
also,
new idea.
okay, I also see that it has to do a lot with the lighting schedule. Though, so the dosing has to be done based on lighting.
This is the miracle. What's telling people there? The lighting schedule is only an idea to do a little bit more nature as it is, because in the most reefs, and I was long years in the Philippines and in Bali, we built their coral farms. I see that mostly in the morning we have a clear sky, and in the afternoon we're getting clouds due to the evaporation and everything. So that's very often in the tropics. So and then the same idea is to start a day with a little bit more power, because we give them the alkalinity, we give them all the protection trace elements in relation how they need it. So it's not that you give them separately with no idea what you do. So the carbonate and the carbonate related elements and vitamins coming together in the tank, the corals can take it easy, and they have then the situation what they have after night full of food. Because during night they eat a lot of particles, they have masses of trace elements in the body was eating the phytoplankton. And then the light starting, and so with the higher light, they can start a way better photosynthesis, which increase the growth. That's the same like if you do in the morning a little bit gymnastic, it lasts you the whole day. You will burn the whole day more calories as before, and that's why the coral can use it better, and the pH goes higher. So it's a way of stabilization. That's not the light system at all, and you don't add more light. Due to the specific way how we did the lighting, you have in the morning a little bit more, and in the afternoon a little bit less.
Do you have to add these chemicals before the lights turn on?
Yeah.
I mean,
30 minutes before the light turns on, you put the bicarbonate solution together with the trace elements into the aquarium, in the sump, wherever you want. And then happens following, and that's a big difference to carbonate or hydroxide, is that the pH go down a little bit. That's a specific effect of the bicarbonate. And creating, which is a chemical thing called dense liquid phase, creating some specific small half crystallization molecules on your rocky surface, so, which we have in an aquarium. And they will releasing that over the day to get the equilibrium between CO2, bicarbonates, and CO2. So we don't need to go too deep into the chemistry. But this gives you then the stability instead of dosing carbonates or hydroxide, which is a high pH level, which keeps your pH high, but makes problem with your buffer system over the time. Average.
Okay.
Not everybody has these problems, but the most people. So, and we look at all reefers, not at some specific specialists.
So going back to pH, because that's kind of like a, intuitively, I think that you're adding this chemical into the water and it doesn't create a pH spike. It does not, or it does?
Not immediately. After that, it raises up. The bicarbonate is that things which buffer all the systems against acids, against high or low pH, and creating over the time, you're getting an 8.3, 8.4 pH maximum. And this is nearby the calcium or aragonite saturation point, which we don't want is to go over the saturation point because it creates precipitations. And this precipitations taking all the nutrients out, it takes the elements out, so you need to dose much more of these elements and build the depots in the rocks, which will bring you over the time the old tank syndrome or lazy ass river syndrome, whatever you talk them nowadays, because you're producing this type of precipitations, and that's what we want to avoid. That's the point.
Okay.
And the perfect pH for corals is 8.3, 8.4, not 8.5 or 8.6 is too high.
So what about the alkalinity spike? Like somebody's targeting 8 and they make their morning dose and they test and now they're at 10. Is that what it will look like?
No.
And then throughout the day it will fall?
No, that's exactly the point what nobody's understanding, or these people don't want to understand it, who makes this much noise about it. This is because this is really a question. So what we see 20 years ago is when we do that, I know that 3 spoons, I had specific spoons in my system, creating 1 DKH. By calculation, it should be 2. And I never find out, or we don't look that deep, so we have not a reason to do it. We don't know where these 1 were because we cannot detect it. So, but it comes back over the day. And 20 years ago with the farms, we were happy to keep them alive, so we don't look so deep in the chemistry. We try out, and now we know why this happens. So we find scientists who can explain that, who were deep into marine or in seawater chemistry, which is different as the standard chemistry is. And now we know why it happens, but nobody do a deep study in an aquarium before, because nobody see this effect of the tabletop that the pH and stability keep over hours extremely stable. And as you see in some forums like Reef to Reef, there are hundreds of people reporting that exactly works like that. So even if some guys who work theoretically, because they even have no aquarium or have no idea since what they've done, and maybe learn that in freshwater systems, because in freshwater they are right with their argues, but not in seawater, combining with the surface of rocks and organic compounds in your aquarium. And that gives a total other situation for the chemistry in the tank.
So I wanted to kind of recap that part. So the pH does not spike, but it does allow for the pH to stay up longer, because it just works that way. Same thing with the, go ahead.
Not exactly. So after you do the dosing, the pH goes up, and that has different reasons for it. That's the way how the system is buffered. Then you have the photosynthesis, and then you have the growth of the corals. So these way with bicarbonates, because the standard in the US is that somebody said every kid or every aquarium knows that bicarbonates don't raise the pH. It must be in Europe, in Europe totally different, because we know that since 20 years that this happens and all the people using that. So it is right if you do that in freshwater, but it's wrong if you do that in an aquarium. And it depends on the time. It's important to dose that in the morning. The reason is that a solution with bicarbonate have a pH of 8.4. With carbonate has 11.2, and with hydroxide 14, whatever. So, and it goes now that it makes a spike and fall down. It do in waves, the tank step by step every day, they go up a little bit. And one of the reasons is that the high amount of CO2, which go out in the air to get an equilibrium between the CO2 in the air and the CO2 in the water, takes out a little bit more CO2 as it was in before. And that's why it stabilized the system on 8.3, 8.4, which is in whole over the world the pH of the seawater. Because this system is same working in the seawater. There's nobody there who dumps a lot of hydroxide in. That's mostly bicarbonate. And that's also in our eyes and in other biological system, this buffer system works quite nearby same. And that's what we use. And we have the effect due to that we do it in the morning, not at the night. And so we get a really, really good stability over the time. Not immediately, but it keeps the stability over time, which course likes more before it goes up and down.
Okay. What about you said something about photosynthesis as well. Does it increase photosynthesis as well?
Due to the light that you put 20% more light, yes, and that you're giving the trace elements in the right relation into the dosing, so that the course has more of fluoride, iodines, bromines at the morning, which help them to deal with the highlighting effect.
Okay.
Which they have. That's like you say that you do your workout in the morning. It's a total different thing if you do it in the morning and in the afternoon. These people know it who do works out. It's extremely different, even if the same time. So, and that's the same for the corals. You give them at the morning the push. They have all what they need in the body. They can take it, and they have all the elements they need to build protection agents against too much lighting, and so that they can use it. And that's why you have a way better reduction of nutrients. You have a way better grow. You will get some other colorations into the tank. So the reds will be more stronger. The difference between the reds and the oranges will be very nice. And you get these really nice growing tips on SPS and really fat algae. So they blow up. That's unbelievable. And it's not chemical based by food, which can turn on a bad way over the time if you feed too much, that you have not a fertilization. It's based on the chemistry in the water and not only by the pH. The pH goes then up and stabilize on the normal standard level, what we need.
Okay. All right. So now we talked about what the Bolus method is and the key benefits from it. So let's talk about the implementation of it. All right. Yeah. So it says, I was looking at your PDF file for your checklist on the website. One of the important things was ICP testing, because you have to know what you're doing in order to do it. Correct. So what's the importance of ICP testing for this? Can you just, for us in here?
That has nothing to do, especially only for this system. It's very simple. If you have a reef tank and you have maybe a lack of some very specific things, let me say even calcium, the corals cannot grow anymore.
Okay.
So, and all the corals what we have, which is really simple explains, all the corals what we have are babies. So they have a massive grow and they need a massive part of food. So that's a little bit the difference between us adults and small kids. Everybody who has a small kids knows that you really ask you how this can come out of a 3-year-old kid. It's impossible, that size. So
yes.
And okay, and then you see what they eat. So if they have a half pound of butter, the next day they are half inch bigger or higher. We getting bigger. So, and corals, as long as they grow, they have a high turnaround. The problem what we have is if they stop to grow, and then we put food and fertilizer into the tank, and this will bring algae, bacteria, whatever to grow, which you don't want. So the problem of the corals, what we have nowadays, that we over-fertilize them with too much food, too much elements, too much impurities, which is in product and in salt. And it's like in planting, as soon as you over-fertilize a plant, then they will die over a longer time. And that's why with the budding light method, which is the base, is a system which goes always to the border of limitation. Because it's easy to add a fish, some snails, some food, but it's very hard to get it out. So, and that's why we use this calcium and magnesium and carbonate solution, super, super clean stuff, together in relation with the trace elements the corals need. In this way, what we work out in Europe, it's a standard, which we work out the last 40 years. And to make the ICP testing should make only sure that the main levels what we need, the macro elements, the micro, and some of the trace elements, are in line that the coral can use it and grow. So take the energy out of the water and use it to become bigger. So then there's no space for algae, cyanobacteria, dinoflagellates, or something else to use that material, which is too much in the tank. And that is what we see. And there's really a big difference between the ICP in the US and the ICP in Europe. And due to that amount, we have now around 220,000 tests, which we can work out for all over the world. And so we can really use data now in AI also to see the difference and why they come from. That's why it's important to have the ICP to be sure that everything runs well. Doesn't matter which system you use.
So once the customer has an ICP done, what do they do then to get started with this Bolus method?
Okay, so let's go over the dosing schedule. Tell me what, if I have the balling light, how do I do it?
Yeah, you have your 3 canisters, or 2 canisters mostly is enough if you have a good salt. And then you start in the morning and you have an average of, let me say, of 2 points of alkalinity you need over the day. So you do the calculation. In your tank could be maybe 250 mils. And then you dose the 250 mils in half an hour before the light starts. You dose that.
You dose everything you need for the day, you dose it right then and there.
For 24 hours. You use in 1 point, in 1 dose bolus, you dose, bam, into it. That's it. So
just the alkalinity, not the calcium or the magnesium.
Just the alkalinity.
Okay, just making sure. I want to make sure.
Just the alkalinity. You dose half an hour before the light starts, and then you start the lights very fast. So you have no ramp time of 2 hours. You have a ramp time of 5 minutes. So
to max power.
Yes.
Okay.
We say very simple. If you have a system now without bolus, and you have your 100% level in the mid of the day, this is the point where you start to calculate. You start in the morning with 120% of that what you use now. If you're just running your lamps on 100%, then you start with 100%. That's it. So it works also. But it's better you start with the first 2 hours with 120% of the just used light power. Then you reduce on 100% for another 3 or 4 hours. And then you make a very slow ramp time till 11 hours, 12 hours you like to have. The sense is, in the first 5-6 hours, you have the maximum photosynthesis. Later they do also, but the maximum is in the first few hours. And the light cells, which look how much light we get, how much energy we get, they know, now the lights go down, which means we do not, the coral will say, I do not need to add energy in light protection system because the lights go down. And that is more natural as the most people think, because in nature we don't have 12 hours light. So if we have this situation that we have over weeks 10 hours, 11 hour full sunshine, then we have El Nino effect and we have dying corals. That's what most people don't know, that with El Nino we have mostly absolute clear sky over weeks, and that's a light problem with the El Nino effect, the light, and which gives the temperature. Here in this case, we start only with 2 hours, we give a beam, and due to the situation that the last 6 hours you go down, you have here 10-15% less radiation as before, and you put that in the morning, so the coral can use it the whole day.
So we got the 100%, it's like, okay, so 100%. And then, so you drop it 20%, and then you do that for how many hours?
3 to 4 hours.
3 to 4 hours. And then you slowly ramp down to make your entire light cycle about 11 hours.
Yeah.
Okay. That actually, so it's a big spike, then a drop of 20%, and then the slow ramp down.
Exactly.
Okay, good.
So it's like you're trying to hit the corals with this huge burst of energy right to start the day.
Yeah,
is that the concept?
That's a little bit of concept, but it's not a huge spike at all. So we only talk about 20% more light. So it's not that we double it or 3 times it. It's only 20% at the beginning, more as you used before. At the end, it's important over the day how many radiation the coral gets, and calculated over the 11 hours. It's not more. That's everything in the discussion of bolus is a thing of people's believing. There's not knowing, that's believing, because they believe if I raise up the lights, my coral will burn. And that's why so many people are totally surprised that it does not, because there's not much understanding about it, how many elements or which elements doing a protecting agent for the corals that they can handle the lights and can use it. If you dose only hydroxide or carbonate without the in relation proper elements for that, then you have this problem, right? But that's the same if you go half a year not out of your house and stuck 12 hours in the sun. You will have a sunburn like hell. If you work outside from winter to the summer, you will not have this.
No,
So
you develop that. You develop that.
you develop that. So and it also depends what you eat, and it also depends what you have on vitamins and that stuff, that our body also can do a better protection, as many people doing. And that's the same with the corals. Corals can handle light, but they need, as one example, they have the zooxanthellae, and the zooxanthellae producing oxygen. And too much oxygen in the body is really a bad thing for them. So they need something which is doing the antioxidation, and that you do with trace elements and vitamins, which they get overnight, because overnight they eat so much plankton, they eat so much phytoplankton, algae, and zooplankton. And everybody knows, example, algae concentrate the trace elements into their cells. Like we know from nori, which is full of iodine, which is a large amount of iodine, way 1,000 times higher than in the water. So, and due to the situation, corals eat overnight, and they eat a lot, really a lot, and have to concentrate the trace elements into the body together with a lot of particles, which is calcium carbonate, aragonites, whatever. They have everything in front. What we do is we don't give them food overnight, and then we start very slowly the day. So that's this is not that what they have in nature. In nature, they have a lot of food, they have a great water, and when the sun goes up, it takes about 5 minutes, and the full sunshine is there. Because everybody who looks in the school a little bit on physics, as long as the light comes like this, it will be reflected, but from one angle to the next, it goes in. So they have no 1.5 hours ramp time. I have no idea how this myth coming into the aquarium industry. This is
I
don't
guess the
know.
mindset, Claude, is people replicates nature. Sunrise.
Well,
and
I think it's what we do is we humans, we're looking at the light outside, but we're not looking at the light from under the water. And like Claude said, it just reflects and it goes up there. But we humans we don't live underwater, so we don't have that concept.
Come on. It comes because they look so nice when the light is blue.
Sure.
So that's why
true.
before I have to go to the job in the morning, I want to see it glowing.
Blue.
And when I come back, I want to see it glowing. And what happens between it doesn't matter. So come on, this is the truth. Yeah, you're in nature.
So the other thing I wanted to do is Bolus Method also has again on your PDF file, because I went back to your PDF file. It also talks about maintenance, like making sure your pumps are clean, your pH probes are calibrated, and your skimmer is actually working properly. Can you explain that?
Oh, it's very simple. We see very often people coming to us and telling we have problems with pH, we have problems with that, and it immediately comes a look to the chemistry. But the chemistry is okay. So the skimmer, very often, if you use carbonates or hydroxide, very often in the inlet of the air, they're creating a calcareous ring. So you have to clean it very often because you're losing 20, 30, 40% of air, which reduces the skimmer power. That's the same with sometimes it's the same with the fleece filters because they're using the wrong material. This brings the skimmer down instead of bring them up. And if the skimmer doesn't working, this is the heart of the reef tank. If the skimmer cannot work, we have too much organic left in the aquarium. We have too much bacterial growth in the aquarium, producing then acetates and acids, because they bring the organic down, which creating then acids and CO2, and that brings the pH down. So if the tank, and that's also one argue, if some people say, yeah, but I know aquariums like the New York with Joe Yoalo, who has this nice tank, and he using calcium hydroxide. Yeah, but this is a professional guy who know what he do, and he's every day on his aquarium, and he clean that, and he do that. He has large skimmers, and you can give Joe a sodium chloride, and he will make a really large aquarium only of this, because he's a great guy. He has knowledge and he has empathy. He knows that. But the systems what we provide are for average people, for everybody. It's not. We have specific product for professionals, definitely. But this is not what we talk about. And the most aquariums here, we show one really nice aquarium, which is the largest SPS coral tank together with sharks in the world. We're doing that now with the Bolus in over 10 years and with every week ICP. So that's why we know exactly how the things is going. And also Hagenbeck and other big aquariums in Europe and in China and now also in the US working with that system because they see the benefits of it over the day. And they are way stronger than we are. They dose every 3 days.
Wow.
Not every day, they do it every 3 days.
Wow.
But due to the stability of the puffer
Of their
system,
Mm-hmm.
they have not the loss because everything goes out. You have the grow as you have it with 2-3 alkalinity a day, but you're only losing one. You can do that for 4 or 5 days and then they crash it down. So if you do that with hydroxide and carbonate, try to stop 1 day, only from the morning to the evening, and your pH and your carbonate crashes down.
Yes.
So, and that shows you, this is exactly the proof, because it happens everywhere, is that your puffer system, which should be there, is never there, because it is used to creating the precipitations. Because with this high pH stuff, you're creating calcium carbonate, magnesium carbonate, you're creating also that hydroxide, that's correct, but what nobody knows it, the adsorbent effect of hydroxide is 10 times higher than of carbonates. That means all the organic compounds, all the amino acids and trace elements, very strong is with phosphates and with fluorides, will be adsorbed, will be flaked out, and this is what it goes into the surface of the rocks and it goes into the sand. Later then, if the bacteria do decomposing these organic compounds, this is why so many people have these organic phosphate high or phosphate coming, nobody knows where it's come from, I didn't change anything. This is the depot effect. And this is why we don't want to do that. So the Bolus system provides us against precipitation, and that reduces the amount. So that's why we have nearby no cyanobacteria issue if you don't do any bullshit or dinoflagellates or something like that. And if I compare the numbers to the UK, who do it a little bit same like you in the US, we have in Germany about 3-4% of people having problems with dinoflagellates. In the UK, we are way over 40%. So, and you can see that on the way how the elements are in the water, how the dosing of trace elements, this is not in relation, this is only how we give, we don't know. And that's why they have so often a lack of very specific combination of trace elements, which do not save the corals for the light. And that's why they're releasing the zooxanthellae, which give in the dinoflagellates. So, and the reason why we don't have this in Germany and in France and in other countries is because we use this bulling system. And the bulling system is now nearby 40 years old, but always works in relation to provide these trace elements for the corals. And this is really important for the biology. It's not only made for the corals. We look over the biofilm and the microbiome of the whole system. And that's why we give a little bit another way of trace elements like it is usually in the world. And that's why the European has so long a success with the corals, because we start not with angelfish and fish tanks, because they were forbidden in the European Union. We had no possibilities to get all these fishes, so we start with corals, but that was the only thing what was left over. So yeah, they were ugly. You know, we had the soft corals at the beginning, and we were happy, very happy to see a green palitua. So then we had a colorful coral, and we were happy. While you guys has all these nice fish, we were completely forbidden in Europe. You know, we are a little bit over-regulated here. And that's the point why this is a different, and you can see it in the ICP.
We talked about the implementation, and you know, as everybody knows, if everything goes well, then everything works great. But the reality is that a lot of times people are going to have problems, whether it's because we don't understand the chemistry or because we don't follow the instructions, because 90% of this hobby is male, I think. So we don't follow instructions. So let's go over troubleshooting tips in here. What are the problems? Give me about 2 problems that you hear often with the Bolus method and what can we do not to fall into that trap?
So the first is that this is a hobby for male, which is unfortunately not a good idea. Girls can do that way better.
Oh, they can do better. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's
So,
what
because
we can't follow instructions.
they have more emotional. They don't run behind numbers, and if they're addicted to chords, they pay way more for chords as male do. So unfortunately, this is not good for us producers
Yeah.
and dealers at all. So the second is running on numbers. Absolutely. So, and I can fully understand why it's a problem. So first we say you have to look on the numbers, and on the other side we say, don't get on it. So if you do a change to the Bolus method, your tank becoming in a short time, a little bit longer time, has some instability till all the buffer system is rebuilt. It could use 2-3 days. It could take we had some aquariums which really take 8 weeks till it get to the stability. But on the other side, we don't know how they do the dosing. People have fear. And the fear is, and that's what surprised me in this discussion. So Fauna Marin is now becoming 25 years old, and we're doing since this 25 years, long time. We are on the market, and we never do, surely not, we creating systems or products which destroying something. This is absolutely that makes no sense at all. And why some people nowadays coming and say this will destroy the cover, this will doing this, instead of being open-minded and try it out and see if they like to do. But if a tank runs well, the first rule ever is never change a running system. So that's the first rule. And we give the possibility for people to say, hey, if something, your pH is not stable, or you want to get rid of calc or whatever, this is a possibility you can use.
Okay.
Nobody is pressed for that. So, and I cannot follow at the end these masses of discussions, because we don't have the discussion. Somebody say, I have a new food. Nobody's asking for proof. Nobody's asking for whatever. They buy the food, they put it in. Nobody's asking what happens in the next half a year with my core. Maybe it's too hot or not well balanced. And we have that from a lot of companies who even don't have any aquarium. So this is like I buy a car from a car company which don't have which no one have a driver license. Nobody will buy this car. So, and there are not many companies in the world who has ICP production and coral farming, which is one of the oldest and for the production here, one of the biggest in Europe. And that's why I really wondering sometimes. So there's too much looking into the deep, too much looking into the technology. And we even don't understand the full physics and chemistry and thermodynamics of alkalinity. And that is the point what's coming out. The thinking of the people is, if I add 500 milligrams of calcium, I have 500 milligrams of calcium into the tank, because I dose an element, which is right. But not with alkalinity. If I dose 500 grams or a pound of calcium, of bicarbonate powder, I have immediately 3-4 different things. The first is CO2 goes away, which is the most. Then I creating bicarbonates, I creating acids, I creating the carbonate. And then these things is reacting with everything what is in the tank. There is no 500 grams of calcium now anymore, or 500 grams of what? This is something totally different. That's why it's so complicated. The alkalinity way in seawater is a study it for itself. We have 36 different ways in, and we have reactions in, and it's even a different if you use a clear water, only that, or you use seawater, or you have an aquarium with a lot of surface, or the amount of organic makes a total different things if you have more precipitations or not, and how it's reacting. So every tank reacts a little bit different with that. And the meaning is, I put it in, I buy it, I pay it, and when I put it in, it is in. In fact, you're losing the first 80% goes out as gas, as CO2. So, but that's the same if you use calc water or if you use carbonate. People thinking is, oh, I dose more of this, I dose less of this. No, you don't. Your corals need 1 point of alkalinity a day, And if the solution have more water in or less water in, it doesn't matter of the amount of carbonate or alkalinity you have to create in your system. That's always the same. It's only the way how to dose it. And if you calculate it properly, you will see that sometimes product which looks more expensive at the beginning are over the year less expensive because they providing a better stability, more animals, which is super important for all the dealers. So if the dealers have a little bit of better coloration, less of loss, don't need to clean the tank all the day because due to the depot effect getting out, save maybe 2 hours of working a week, calculated over a year. Then you see how cheap these products can be. But you need to have a picture on the whole picture, not only on the point. That's a mistake what may do, going deep and then believing this is like it is because we did it 20 years ago. Or we did it, or I cannot believe it that it works. Like one dosing gives stability. For everybody is, if I dose every 3 minutes, then I have stability. That's right with other things, but not with Alkalinity.
Okay. All right. So those are great tips.
Somebody getting into this, Claude, they're looking to purchase the balling light, the Fauna Marin balling light. Now, kind of confusing because balling method is a different than bolus. So,
No.
but they're purchasing the balling light, Fauna
The
Marin.
balling light is the same. The balling light is the same. Is the principle, the primary care system, the base care system, the supply system for the whole aquarium and the biology. So the balling light is the development of the classical balling version, which happens nearby the same times. 1-2 years later, we're creating then a light system to make the things more easy to handle. It's easier to mix, you have bigger things, and it's easier to use. And you have the related trace elements not based on theoretical view, it's based on practical, coming from coral farms and coming from aquarium views. Not the same like you have in some ICPs, they always deal with natural seawater. This is okay, you can do that, but we have no natural seawater in our aquariums. So, which is even when you come from windy city, quite difficult to get natural seawater. So that's why everything what we do, we're providing for aquarium water, and that situation not for seawater. And the balling light system is the base. You can use it standard, but you can use it as bolus. That means that the part of the carbonate will be dosed 1 a day, and the calcium is dosed 4 times a day, and that's it. That's all.
So anybody, if you have any questions about the Bolus method, you can always head over to faunamarin.de. There's a PDF file there that explains the Bolus system. It goes from the beginning, from what it is to how to implement it and what to do. So just kind of recapping the benefits of the Bolus system for what I've known is stability, the system stability, also the coral growth and coloration. You say that you're going to get some amazing growth, and you're going to get some colors that you have never seen before, and the stability of the alkalinity and pH over a period of time. And nothing is going to happen right away. So don't expect to get a spike. Don't expect to have everything growing within a week. Just like anything, I don't think even Claude has developed a version to bypass patience. You still have to be patient about it. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. Patience.
The LPS reacting very fast. So sometimes within really 24 hours, you see in the LPS that they blow up. They have a way better polyp extension. Polyp extension overall being many people reporting that the polyp extension is now 24 hours open. But the most important thing of the Bolus method is definitely not all this pH and the first things you see. The most important effect is due to the situation, how this works with the crystals and how they go back, you will have the situation that the depot effect, so that phosphates and nutrients will be going to the surface, they will come back. So you can reduce this amount of later using absorbers and CO2 scrubbers and lights for algae filters and whatever. You don't need that. So you can really get a stability and a good coral grow without having all these extras. You can use that surely if you have a very specific situation. Always 10 people around the aquarium and really, really high CO2 levels. But for the most average reefers, they can stop use that. So at the end, it becomes cheaper. That's what I mean before. Sometimes it's better you buy something which is maybe a little bit more expensive.
Yeah, it sounds
but
cheaper
you
and,
save money.
and very easy to use. Really, it's
It
Yeah.
is, yeah.
Yeah. But everything happens slowly, and it happens, you got to be patient about it. Claude, thank you so much for being here. I know that we could go on for hours,
I
and
can do that.
yeah,
I can do
yeah,
that.
we can do that, but unfortunately the show has to end right now. We have to cut it, but we would love to have you back and talk about other things.
Yeah, that's Claude's a wealth of knowledge, so I love picking
Always,
his
whenever you
brain.
want. So I have a lot of fun with you guys.
Yeah,
So, and I'm very appreciated that I can have the possibility to talk here. So
so I like to thank our
pleasure.
I like to thank our listeners. I like to thank the people watching. If you're watching us, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe. You'll get a notification as soon as we release a show. You can watch our beautiful faces on YouTube, or if you just want to listen to us, you'll find us on Spotify as well. I'd like to say thank you to April and Jeremy, our producers, who spend a lot of time working on the show after and before. They don't, the people behind the scenes that don't get to, that you don't get to see them, but trust me, if they were not around, you wouldn't be able to see us. So thank you so much. I want to say thank you to Claude as well. Always the time. I know the time is about dinner time for you. Thank you, David, for always being here, my co-host. And thank you, everybody. And we'll see you next time.